On January 3rd, 2025, U.S. Congressman Al Green took the oath of office to serve the people of Texas' 9th Congressional District, beginning his 11th term in the United States House of Representatives. Congressman Green currently serves on the House Committees on Financial Services, including the Subcommittee on Financial Institutions, and as a ranking member on the Subcommittee on Oversight and Investigation. Congressman Green is with us now. Welcome back to Hello, Houston.
Well, thank you very much for having me. And there is one slight amendment. I'm also now on Homeland Security. This is something that happened lately, so you wouldn't have that information.
And that's good because we want to talk about that. But we also, as I said a moment ago, the congressman has agreed to take your calls, comments, questions. So please join this conversation at 713-440-8870. So I guess the first place to start, which is probably on a lot of people's mind, and we've got a lot to cover today, but it is the government shutdown. How is it going? Are we closer to getting this resolved, or are we at a stalemate?
Well, the important thing to know is that the Republicans can end the shutdown whenever they choose. On all of these votes that they've taken thus far, if they wanted to, they could end the shutdown. They can do it because they can simply change the rules as they have done for other things. When they wanted to put Judge Gorsuch on the Supreme Court, they changed the rules so that they don't have to go to cloture. Cloture requires 60 votes. If you change the rules, you can do it with 51 votes. They just recently passed a legislation that allowed them to, and I say passed legislation, changed the rules to allow them to put nominees that the president made before them so that they could pass them. 48 were passed on September 12th. And then there was another time when they had as many as more than 100. So they simply changed the rules. Now, many people don't understand this change the rules statement. Here's what they do. They present whatever it is that they'd like to change. And they say, we'd like to pass this legislation with 51 votes as opposed to the cloture votes, which would be 60. The parliamentarian rules against them. Once the parliamentarian rules against them, then you vote to determine whether or not you can overturn the ruling of the parliamentarian. You literally say, I appeal the ruling of the parliamentarian. And you can win that vote with 51. You don't have to have 60 to change the rules. 51 votes allows you to change the rules. You change the rules and you do what you want. This is just not important to the president. The president is doing this because he wants to fire people. He can say that these people are not essential. He can lay the blame on persons who determined that certain persons are non-essential workers, and as a result, these workers can be laid off and fired. That's what it's all about. They can change the rules today if they want to.
Let me ask you this then. If at what's at stake is the president wanting to fire and do away with positions in the government, and they're using this shutdown, if the Democrats in the Senate, and I understand you're in the House, but if the Democrats in the Senate are aware and concerned about that, couldn't they just vote through the CR, the continuing resolution, to give us that 6 more weeks or 7 weeks of the government being open, which would then offset the firing of these people and give Democrats and Republicans a chance to continue to negotiate out the budget?
Glad you asked, because the Democrats are concerned about health care. I'm very much concerned. I'm the person who was censured, not silenced, because I told the president at a joint session of Congress he had no mandate to cut Medicaid. Democrats have the opportunity now to call this to the attention of the public. The people need to know. They're going to find out when they get these notices that their health care insurance is going to go up, their co-pays are going to go up, their premiums are going to go up. But Democrats are doing what we need to do to help make sure people get their health care needs met. The Republicans keep saying we're the holdup, but they have the House, the Senate, and the presidency. The House and the Senate can pass legislation that would allow them to take up these bills if they choose to. It is up to them to do that. That's their business. They have the House and the Senate. We don't have control of these things. So they should stop saying that they have to have us, because they don't. There's no requirement that we do one thing to open the government up. They can do it if they choose to. They choose not to because it's not important to them. When it was important to them to put Gorsuch on the Supreme Court, they changed the rules to do it. When it's important for them to get nominees, as they did yesterday, they changed the rules to do it. When they find that this becomes important to them, they'll change the rules and they'll do it. And the president will say, well, you know, I'm a big hero now. I've changed the rules to do what the Democrats wouldn't allow us to do. But the Democrats are not holding them up. They could have done it when they took the first vote if they had chosen to.
Let me ask you a side strategy question here, though, also, that the talk about the premiums going up for health insurance and all of that, a lot predict that they're already getting they are already getting letters saying that their premiums are going up. And over that 7-week period, if the government were back opened under the CR, a lot more people would be hearing about their premiums going up. And that, in effect, would then help the Democratic cause because then the voters out there would be seeing what's happening. So if you're in the CR, then the people may come behind you to help move forward the idea that they've got to look at healthcare as opposed to this government shutdown. Your thoughts on that strategic point?
Well, this helps the people. We're not talking about helping the Democrats. We will be helping people who need this health insurance. If you live long enough, you will need Medicaid because Medicaid will provide you long-term hospitalization insurance once you get on Medicare. So Medicaid is important to everybody. Aside from that, when these premiums are going up, they'll be going up in part because people have been locked out. If you leave people who are on Medicaid, lock them out, they'll be going to hospitals. So you'll have to get your general practitioner services at a hospital. But also the people who are off of the insurance because they can't afford the premiums will now go into a separate pool. And the people who stay on the insurance, who are paying premiums, their premiums are going to go up too. So this impacts everybody. But the important point to remember is this, because it hasn't been said, I'm saying it today, that the Republicans have the authority and the power to change this tomorrow, today, in fact. All they have to do is decide that they'll do what they did when they put Gorsuch on the Supreme Court, when they just yesterday passed a large number of nominees en bloc because they want to do it. This is not something they want to do because the president wants to fire people and he wants to have an excuse, and he's going to use the excuse that they're non-essential. And how do I know they're non-essential? This is the president speaking. Because other persons have said so. He does now have his hands clean, and he can become the hero who comes in later on and does exactly what I'm saying now. Eventually, that's what Republicans will do. They will change the rules and they'll go on.
Well, Mr. Green, Sylvia Garcia was here. She said that she's on the Affordable Care Act. Are you on the Affordable Care Act? Is that where you get your insurance?
Well, yes, we all get our insurance through the same source.
So why would they want to shoot themselves in the foot if they're all on this, and yet they don't want to support it? I don't get where the Republicans are coming from when they want to cause detriment to the Affordable Care Act and Medicare and Medicaid, unless, like you say, this has an entire ulterior motive.
Well, it is a scheme. Dr. King had a dream. They have a scheme. And the scheme is let this linger so that they can terminate people. And at some point, they can open the government up by doing what I've said they can do. Now, people who need the subsidies are persons who are not in the class of people that, let me say I'm in. And I by the way, I'm the guy who informed payroll that they should not send me any money until this shutdown has been resolved. So I'm not getting paid. Now, back to your question. These persons like Al Green and others who are members of Congress, they don't need the subsidies. We're not getting subsidies. We are buying our insurance through the Affordable Care Act, only in the sense that we need insurance, but we're not getting subsidies. My insurance is not subsidized.
Let me ask you another side question about healthcare, too. There's a lot of talk that part of the reason that the Republicans are standing opposed to what the Democrats want is that it's healthcare for undocumented people in our country. What is the truth behind that? What is the fallacy behind that?
I'm so pleased you asked that question. The law does not allow undocumented persons to get health care, to get the insurance. Here's what it does allow. And I support this, by the way. I'm not speaking for anybody except myself and the people who agree with me. I don't speak for the Democratic Party. I'm a liberated Democrat, unbought, unbossed, unafraid, liberated Democrat. Here is the truth. If you go to the emergency room and you don't have insurance, they're not going to kick you out. And I don't want them to kick anyone out. whether you're documented or undocumented. This is Al Green's position. Campaign against me for saying this, not other Democrats. I think that people who have been hurt in an auto accident, they get to the emergency room, I think we have to give them health care. That's what the emergency room is for, to help people who have found themselves in need of emergency care. I want them to get that care. So people who differ with me, I understand. Meet me at the polls. I put my reputation on the line. I think America is a country where we want to give emergency care to people regardless as to where they're from, how they got here, what they've done. After all, if we are engaged in mortal combat with you and we wound you, after we wound you, we're going to give you aid and comfort. That would include medical care. If you're robbing a bank and we should capture you and in the process harm you, hurt you in the process, we're going to give you aid and comfort. So we can give aid and comfort to people that are bank robbers and trying to kill us in mortal combat. Surely we can give aid and comfort to a person who's been in an auto accident, makes his or her way to the hospital to get emergency care. I support that.
Oh, Mr. Green,
that is what they're talking about.
I completely agree with you. However, there is the whole anchor baby situation of women crossing the border, getting into an American emergency room, and having to be taken care of, and then having their child on American soil and having birthright citizenship. And there's some suggestion that the Republicans don't like. They tried to get rid of birthright citizenship, haven't been able to do that, and so this is really their way of getting rid of people just going into the ER and having babies from across the border. Am I wrong on that?
Well, they do want to get rid of birthright citizenship, but they've got many reasons for wanting to do that. And I'm not sure that you want to go into that right now, but I'll just give you a sample of what my thoughts are on it. They want to get rid of birthright citizenship in part because they are doing their very best to maintain America as a majority white country. They are trying their very best to prevent this from becoming a majority minority country. That's why you see them doing a lot of these things that are very harmful. Birthright citizenship is something that's in the Constitution. They want to change that, yes, but they want to change it for many reasons. Maybe because of persons coming here and having babies and getting medical care, maybe. But also because they want to maintain the majority white population in this country. And I would add this, the number of people who get that kind of health care compared to the number of people who are on Medicaid is very small. So do we now deny all of the people who legitimately, as they would see it, deserve Medicaid? We deny them Medicaid so that we can punish a few people. I don't think we punish all of the American people who deserve and need Medicaid because Republicans think that a few people who are getting these benefits, and they shouldn't, if that's what is happening as they say it, they shouldn't, then I would say to you, I don't abide with that. I think we're going to protect Medicaid. By the way, Democrats haven't said, let's change birthright citizenship in any way. They're the ones who want to change it. Birthright citizenship is something that's in the Constitution. And by the way, this Supreme Court may do anything. My hope is that they'll follow the law as it has been upheld over these many years since it was placed in the Constitution.
Okay, we want to move on to the National Guard. How do you feel about the National Guard, our Texas National Guard, being sent to Chicago?
I don't feel good about it. I think the Texas National Guard has a primary responsibility of working here in Texas. I think that the president is doing what he is doing when he should be doing something else. And here's that something else. If you really want to help all of these municipalities with crime, why not fund a budget that will allow more police officers to do what needs to be done if that's what you really want to see done? He doesn't want to see the cities get the additional funds that they need to fight crime. He wants to send in the military so that at some point he can claim some sort of victory that will be temporary at best because they're going to bring the National Guard out. He'll claim some sort of victory that will be temporary, and then that helps his ego. The president is an egomaniacal person. he has to have his ego stroked regularly. And when you see him in these staff meetings with the members of the cabinet, everybody's got to tell him how great he is. Well, Mr. President, you're another human being like me and everybody else, and you're not great. You're really a person who believes that might makes right, and that's what you do. You use the might to determine what is right, and most of the time it seems to me you're wrong.
We are speaking with U.S. Congressman Al Green, who represents Texas 9th. And if you'd like to join the conversation, you can call or text us 713-440-8870. We did get a text from Jen in Clear Lake who says, tell Al Green that he has a lot of love here in Clear Lake. He seems like the smartest man in Congress.
Well, I wouldn't say that. My mother would love her, however. My mother would really embrace you fondly. But here's the point. We have not made the case. I would say I have not made the case. I'll take the responsibility for this, for letting people know the truth about how these rules work here. Mm-hmm. We change the rules when we want to do something. If we don't want to do it, we say the rules won't allow it. That's what's happening in the Senate right now. The Senate is stalled because Republicans don't want to change these rules. This president has said that he's going to release people. And people understand that that is inappropriate because it was under his watch that we passed a law that said people who are furloughed during these shutdowns, that they will get paid. Not only does the president not want to pay them, he wants to release them. This is a hard-hearted person who does this. This is a hard-hearted person. People don't do that kind of thing when they institute the very rule that would protect people.
Speaking of making changes, redistricting here in the state of Texas, you are part of that plan. Talk to me a little bit about your feelings on that.
Well, here are my feelings. The President of the United States sent the Justice Department a note. The Justice Department then contacted the state of Texas. I got the letters in my hand. Here is the letter from the United States Justice Department to the governor and to the Attorney General. And in this letter, the very last line, you can read it if you'd like. It's online, but it says, if the state of Texas fails to rectify racial gerrymandering of Texas 9, that's the district that I currently represent, Texas 18, that was represented by Jackson Lee and lately Sylvester Turner, who had his untimely demise, in my opinion. The 29th, that's Sylvia Garcia, and 33rd, which is Mark Veazey in Dallas. Okay, they say that this was racially gerrymandered. That's what the president and the Justice Department said to the state of Texas. Well, here's the state of Texas's response. State of Texas, in bold print, indicated the evidence at the trial was clear and unequivocal. The Texas legislature did not pass race-based electoral districts for any of those three political maps, meaning the maps that we currently have. The Texas legislature is saying no. Senator Hoffman testified that it was not race-based, and she said it was to maximize Republican political advantage. Texas said we don't do business like that. And in fact, Texas has now had to read this article in the Houston Chronicle, styled Texas GOP, I have it right here, Texas GOP officials shy away from initial redistricting rationale in new filing. Here's a salient point. Texas officials acknowledged in a new court filing that the Justice Department rationale, that's what I gave to you earlier, their rationale, race-based gerrymandering, that the Justice Department's rationale this summer for pushing them to redraw state congressional maps was flawed. The flaw is they were alleging that they were done to benefit, the lines were drawn to benefit people of color, racial gerrymandering. And this statement that they made brought race into question. That's why we have contended that this race question is something that has to be litigated. It is racist to do what Texas is said to have done, and they didn't do it. Texas didn't do that. We now have this lawsuit, and I think we should win the lawsuit. I hope we will.
For a point of clarity there, it is legal to gerrymander when it's along political lines, but it is illegal, if I'm reading the law correctly, to gerrymander along racial lines, and that's why this is an issue.
That's in the Voting Rights Act. You are eminently correct. And the state of Texas says we didn't do that. we gerrymandered for political reasons, which is constitutional now. At one time it wasn't, but it is now.
So that's in El Paso, at a courtroom in El Paso right now?
In a courtroom in El Paso where my lawyer is right now. Gary Bledsoe is my lawyer. He's there. Dr. Murray is my demographer. He's been there to testify. I have testified. We have a good case. Now, whether the state of Texas is going to honor this, I don't know, but we have a very good case. After all, you got to remember this. Texas is a state that had white-only primaries, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court because of a dentist in Houston, Texas named Lonnie Smith. He took the case to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, Texas, you cannot have white-only primaries. That is unconstitutional. Texas said, okay, we agree with you. We won't have white-only primaries. We will now have white-only pre-primaries. Literally, pre-primaries for whites only. This is what the state of Texas has done. So this gerrymandering that they're doing now to keep minority people from having the rights, the same rights to vote and select candidates of their choice as others, this is not anything new. Texas has been a state that has discriminated against minorities for a very long time.
So I know you have to go.
I don't have to go. I'm here until you say it's over.
Okay.
Well, then you're here for the whole rest of the afternoon.
I was going to give you a yes or no answer question, but you might want to elaborate. Is Mike Johnson lying to us?
Well, I'm not going to call him a. I never say that a person is doing that. I will say sometimes that a person may be prevaricating, and sometimes people engage in insidious prevarications. So maybe this is prevarications of some sort, but it may be that he just doesn't understand. I like the speaker, and it's hard for me to say that he is doing what you have said, but he is clearly wrong, and he knows that he's wrong. Listen. Here's what you need to do. Call up the senators. Call anybody in the Senate that you want and ask them, can they change the rules and pass their so-called clean bill without any Democrats voting for it? Can they do it with 51 votes? I challenge you to do it, and I dare any one of them to say, no, they cannot. If they say it, bring us both on, and I'll debate them right on your program, because they can do it. They have the power. They have the House and the Senate, and it only takes a majority vote once they change the rules to do what they want to do, and they've got more than a majority of the senators.
Congressman, while we're talking about the speaker, I'm concerned about the not swearing in of the Arizona Democrat who won her seat.
I am too.
What is your understanding of the delay? Now, I know, of course, with the government being shut down, I do believe he can still swear her in outside of full session functioning. Is that correct or not? Or does it have to be back in session?
I believe he can. That's my belief as well. But we do know that if that happens, then that becomes a 218th vote to deal with another issue that is being eschewed. So I think
that is the release of the Epstein files for people who aren't.
I wasn't going to say it, but
I'll
yes.
say it. Yeah.
Okay. Look, it is obvious that the speaker is avoiding the release of these files. The president doesn't want these files released. The president put people in place for many reasons, but some of these people are in place because they are the people who would have the street cred to tell the people who have been now for many, many months saying, let's see the files. These people have the street cred to say there's nothing to see. So he put them in place. But the people who want to see the files are ignoring the street cred of the people who are in place that are making these statements. People want to know what happened. And it really, at this point, I want to know what happened. This had been something that was not on my radar as something that was seriously in need of my spending a lot of time on. But now, given what I've heard about the possibility of Epstein blackmailing people, you heard that just recently from a very prominent person, given what we have seen as it relates to his palace that he had out on the island and how people were brought in and, for periods of time and things were happening, including they were getting these massages and other things, I suppose. I don't know what the other things were. But in any event, I think I want to know what happened too. So let's have the files. And don't say that there is nothing here so you don't need to see the files. If you say there's nothing here, then show me the files and I can draw my own conclusions about what's there.
All right, we have a call for you, sir. Bob from West Houston is on the line. Bob, what's your question for Representative Green?
Representative Green, I want to congratulate you on the energy and enthusiasm you're bringing to the current situation. However, we're on an autocrat path, okay? The legislature and the courts have fallen already, and we see the military being deployed to the street. We're in a serious situation in the United States. I need to hear much more crying of where the path is. Is the 2026 election even certain? It looks like the 2028 election season might be off the books. Your thoughts, sir?
I'm not sure if you could hear that. Did you hear him, or do you want me to recap?
I did hear him.
Okay.
I did, and I'm pleased to give a response. We have a president who incited an insurrection. He would differ. That's my opinion. I speak for myself and everybody who agrees with me. But when you have people who have various instrumentalities that indicate that they don't mean anybody the best of good, if I can say it this way, they don't mean anybody to treat people well when you've got a noose and you've got gallows and you're saying that you're looking for people to harm them, and you break down doors and you crash into the building, and you then come in and defecate and you take things as you leave. And these people had us frightened. I was right here in this office with the doors locked, with our cell phones turned on silent so that they wouldn't know where we were or that we were in here. We were in this room and we were very much concerned about our safety and well-being. So in my opinion, it was an insurrection. They incited this insurrection. I say they, the president was a principal person in charge of doing it. And after doing that, the president was, he was impeached. But the president who did that once to try to prevent the peaceful transfer of power, and that's what he was trying to do. The president who did that once, in my opinion, is likely to do it again. And this time, he'll have caused us to accept the notion that it's okay to have military troops on the streets of America in their military vehicles, to be armed with long guns. We are being right now put in a position such that we will accept things that we would never have accepted prior to this president's coming into office and doing what he's doing with the National Guard. We would never have accepted it. And now he's talking about using the actual military in our cities, which is in contravention of the Constitution. There's no insurrection going on that I'm aware of. I've tried to chronicle the news on a daily basis, and I know of no insurrection. So my point is, yes, to the gentleman that called in, this president is a person who, in my opinion, is going to consider, whether he does it or not, he will consider staying on beyond his term of office. Or he will try to do something clever like running for vice president with his current vice president running as president, just the same as Putin did it when he was out of office for a term in Russia. He'll try to pull something like that. He has, in my opinion, no intentions of leaving office as he should at the end of his term.
I want to remind everyone we're speaking with Democratic Congressman Al Green, who represents the Texas 9th. And our number here, 713-440-8870. Kima from the Heights is on the line with another question. Kima, what's on your mind?
Hi, it's Kima.
Kima.
No worries. I just wanted to say first, to Mr. Green, he's such an inspiration. You work in the same building as my brother, Marcus Hedman, at the Marcus Hedman Law Firm. And we see you all the time, and we're so proud of you and so grateful that you're fighting for us. But I also wanted to talk about gentrification. Before coming back to Houston, I lived in Brooklyn for 10 years, and I saw how people were priced out and how the neighborhood and the culture was completely scrubbed out. And I'm seeing the same thing for the beautiful culture in the 3rd Ward and the 5th Ward. And I was just wondering what is being done and how are we addressing affordable housing? Because I see the big black and white boxy buildings being put up all over the wards, but I also see the people, with being priced out and the culture being changed.
Kima, thank you for that. Representative.
Well, thank you. I support revitalization without gentrification. Revitalization. You can revitalize communities and you don't have to engage in gentrification to get it done. We've seen this happen in at least one part of the city, out in the southern part of the city where I happen to have friends, and it is within my congressional district. What are we doing? Yes, affordability is a real issue. Affordability is an issue because we have a supply shortage, and we need millions of new homes constructed. To build these millions of new homes, I think we're going to have to relax some standards so that builders can build efficaciously, effectively, but also do it quickly. We have to have more homes on the market. If we just leave the market as it is now, that is not going to solve the long-term problem. So we need more housing. But we also have to deal with people who are buying up homes in large tracts. They buy up the homes, and after they buy the homes, and when they buy them, by the way, they're taking them off the market. They are not going to be sold to persons who are first-time home buyers, by way of example. And once they get these homes, then they rent them. And they have the ability, because they're buying at such a large scale, to manipulate the pricing such that people will now pay for rent what they would be paying if they were purchasing the home and had a mortgage. So we've got to deal with that situation. We cannot let people just buy up all of the houses that become available so that they can do what I consider price setting. And then the final thing is we do have to subsidize some people who want to buy homes in some of the high cost areas. And we can subsidize everywhere, but in some places you've got to subsidize more than others. There are some places where a starter home will cost you $300,000 or more. That's just a starter home. But in other places, not so much. The point is the government has to be involved in these things. Democrats in the main, I'm not speaking for all of them, Democrats in the main believe in using the government to help people. My Republican colleagues want very little government, and they believe that the rich need more to do more, and the poor can do more with less. They believe that the rich have needs that require them to have more money so that they can do more things. But poor people can do more with less. That's why we would cut health care such that Medicaid is being cut. This benefits poor people. And the overwhelming majority of the people on getting Medicaid are people who were born right here in this country. So my Republican colleagues, to eliminate some people that they believe shouldn't get it, would punish people who are born in this country, the majority of whom were born in this country. Housing is important. Healthcare is important. Democrats care about housing, healthcare, Social Security, minimum wage. All of these are things that help people have a better quality of life. These are the things that Democrats brought into being. It was a Democrat that gave us minimum wages. It was a Democratic president signed that into law. Democratic president signed Medicare into law, signed Medicaid into law, signed Social Security into law. The Democrats want to help people, and they believe government is a means by which it can be done. And if ever people are no longer receiving a minimum wage, lose their health care, they will value what Democrats did to get us to the point that we are now, that is being dissipated in a sense by this president, because he has a different point of view as to how government should be engaged in the lives of people.
713-440-8870.
Yes, we have another call on the line, Representative. This is from Jesse in the Cypress area. Jesse, what's your question or comment for Representative Green?
Thank you very much. Hello, Houston. Representative Green, thank you for being on and educating us. I'm a retired school principal and administrator and professor who teaches citizenship in my educational leadership classes. I was at the first Poor People's Campaign in Resurrection City in 1968, so I'm old. And I in the current Poor People's Campaign with Bishop Barber, and we visited all the House and Senate representatives in 2023, and you were one of them. And we appreciate you supporting us in the Church Without Walls in Houston, Texas. In our research with the Poor People's Campaign, recent research, we know what the minimum wages are in at least 36 states. And we know that Bishop Barber said that we need $23 an hour in Texas just to live, for poor people to live. And I'd like you to just elaborate. You started already a little bit. I'd like you to elaborate a little bit on that and the plight of poor people and people are working 2 and 3 jobs to get that $23 an hour, but our minimum wage is still a paltry sum down near the bottom.
Yes, I concur with what you've said. Bishop Barber is one of my favorite people. I love him. He is well-read, well-spoken, and ready to take on the challenges of our time. I believe that the minimum wage has to be indexed. We should not have to go through this process of trying to cajole persons into doing what I believe to be the right thing, and that is make sure that people have a living wage. So if we're going to have a living wage, we should index the minimum wage. It can be indexed to many things. I have a piece of bill entitled, the Living American Wage Act, the Law Act, the Living American Wage Act. And in that, we index the minimum wage such that index means affix it to something so that when that thing goes up, then the minimum wage will go up. And we have used a formula that we received from one of our well-known institutions, educational institutions. I believe it's MIT that we used for our minimum wage, a formula that they constructed. And this way, the minimum wage will go up and people won't have to work full-time and live at and sometimes below the poverty line. Literally, that happens in this country. No one should work full-time and live at or near the poverty line. You should be able to take care of yourself, and you should be able to support a family member if you are working full-time. That's what Democrats are all about, helping people have a living wage so that people can take care of themselves and a family. This country was built on hard work. The hard work. Won't get into all of who were involved in the hard work, but hard work. And hard work made a difference. We've gotten to a point now where you can work hard, you can work full time, and you can still work near the poverty line or make wages that are near the poverty line. That has to change. The CEOs in this country are making millions a year on a yearly basis. They make millions. The people who are working and cleaning the rooms that the CEOs walk into, the night shift, those persons are making, some of them maybe $10 an hour. Some of them are making $7.25 an hour. We've got to change that. So I stand with you in indexing the minimum wage so that people will work full-time and live well above the poverty line, be able to take care of themselves.
One area a lot of people believe helps with that is education. I'm curious your views and feelings on how the federal government is treating higher education in our country today.
Well, if we're talking about the way the president is treating higher education, and he thinks of himself as a government, just as an aside, I'm going to come to this. This president was made above the law by the Supreme Court. He now believes, however, that he is the law. The president literally believes that what he says is the law. And if a judge differs with him, he wants the judge impeached. And just today, I heard a senator saying that a judge who differed with the president with a ruling, that judge ought to be impeached. We had to get the Supreme Court Justice, the Chief Justice, John Roberts, to say to the president, Mr. President, we don't impeach judges because they give us opinions that we don't like. We appeal. We appeal. That's what we do. Now, with reference to higher education, I brought it up because of this point about the judges, because the Congress has not done its job. And I say the Congress, I'm speaking more about the Republicans, not Democrats. Republicans have just let the president have his way. Whatever he wants, he can get it. Is this too much, Mr. President? Do we need to do more for you? They have just literally thrown in the towel. And the Supreme Court seems to be giving the president more authority than he deserves as a person who is in charge of 300 million people. So in the sense that he's our leader. But with reference to these colleges, the president has literally decided that he will determine what is going to be taught, how it's going to be taught, don't teach about slavery. We say too much about slavery in this country. Slavery in Texas was thought to be by some involuntary relocation. There was a movement in Texas to have slavery become involuntary relocation. The president would have agreed with that, but slavery was not involuntary relocation. And these institutions of higher education have to speak truth about our history. They cannot allow the president to change the history simply because he doesn't want the darker side of our history to be exposed. Well, it has to be, because for more than 240 years, people of African ancestry worked without a payday. They had a hand in building the White House, hand in building the Capitol, built roads and bridges, planted seeds, harvested the crops, fed the nations. This nation, they were the economic foundational mothers and fathers of this country. They have not been recognized as such. America is the great country it is because it had 240 years of free labor. Free. I have to say it multiple times because some things bear repeating. And the president hasn't recognized them. He would have us now decide that somehow that just really didn't happen the way it did. Well, it did happen the way it did. It was about rape, and it was about kidnapping. It was about doing dastardly deeds on a daily basis to people who were meaning us no harm. They were here working and being subservient. So we have to change that. We have to change that, and we can change it by giving them the honor they deserve. And the honor that they deserve is at least what we did for Confederate soldiers in 1956. In 1956, the Congress of the United States of America awarded a congressional gold medal to Confederate soldiers, a congressional gold medal to the enslavers. Nothing for the enslaved. We haven't done anything of note to show our appreciation for more than 240 years of lives that were sacrificed. People were born into slavery, they lived their lives as a slave, and they died as a slave for 240 years. So that's the history that the president would not have us learn or be taught at an institution like Harvard or some of these other institutions that he has taken on. And I respect Harvard for at least fighting back. Some of the others did not.
We can't thank you enough for being here on Hello Houston today, Representative Green. We have to leave it there. We're the ones that have to go now. But thank you so much, and keep up the good fight, and good luck, and come back often.
Well, may I just simply say thank you to both of you for allowing me on. Liberated Democrats are not as welcomed as you have made me feel welcome today. Thank you so much.